Because of my personal experiences as well as the experiences of the individuals who are close to me, I am able to say that the most of the time, the women who have gone on to have the most successful lives are the ones who have had a guy in their lives who was able to provide for them. In the event that both of their bones were fractured as a result of falling in the ground, it wouldn't matter as much. In order for the retirement plan to be effective and for the children of the couple to ensure that their parents enjoy the best quality of life during their final years on Earth, one of the children would have to give up everything they hold dear. Consider the situation that a lady who lives alone faces as a comparison. It would have been simpler for her, depending on the number of children she had, if at least one of them had stayed behind to take care of her. If that had been the case, things could have been simpler for her. If the child at issue makes enough money each month to support and care for the woman at issue, then the child will be given priority over the woman who is not a parent and does not have a lot of money, since the child will be able to support and care for the woman at issue. If this woman does not start saving for her retirement right once, she is setting herself up for a life filled with hardship and sadness. Consider the situation of a single mother who made the decision not to have children and as a result became financially independent. Contrast this with the scenario of a single woman who made the decision not to have children and did not have a retirement plan. Which of these 304s do you believe is more successful? You will be present during the unfolding of a terrible incident in real time. In the course of my life, I've had the good fortune to cross paths with a wide variety of women, and let me tell you something. The vast majority of these women are in charge of managing their own finances on their own because their husbands did not provide for them financially when they were approaching retirement age. All of these ladies are economically doomed for one of two reasons: either they did not have children who grew up to be financially independent or successful, or they did not have children but failed to save enough money for retirement. Therefore, when your former partners leave you because they believe they can achieve more success elsewhere and that the grass is greener on the other side, the last 40 years should speak for themselves because they should demonstrate that the grass is indeed greener on the other side. The majority of these three women will have completed their careers by the time they are in their 60s and 70s. Because of this, when we hear them proclaiming that they are powerful and self-sufficient, we observe the career women avoiding having children. The sight of an elderly homeless woman who has no choice but to live on the streets is one of the most painful things that can happen to a person. When you come across an elderly woman who does not have a place to sleep, it usually always tells a story, but it might signify that she will receive support from someone or from a government agency if she does not have a home. The majority of the time, it is because she was obstinate to the very end and believed that she could have done it on her own without being subject to the direction and authority of a man. This is often what ends up happening as a result of the fact that a significant number of these women, particularly in today's society, would rather choose to struggle than have a guy who checks her behavior and prevents her from destroying herself and the family. This is often the case because a significant number of these women would rather choose struggle than have someone who checks her behavior and prevents her from destroying herself and the family. From my observations, I've found that this is the true for the vast majority of women who find themselves in difficult circumstances. Some women find themselves living on the streets as a result of a confluence of factors, such as substance abuse, poor decisions regarding their own lives, or a catastrophic experience such as the loss of their home. As a consequence of this, I consider it improper to feel sorry for women who are in a potentially dangerous scenario if the circumstance was not the result of an inevitable accident. Why? For the simple reason that I do not feel sorry for someone who is solely responsible for their current predicament. All too frequently, people rush to a woman's help merely due to the fact that she is a woman, without first inquiring as to what led to her being in danger or opting to reject the answer if it is provided. There must be ice in the blood of the men you see out here on the streets. You shouldn't feel sorry for women who go to war because if it were a man, you wouldn't give a hoot about it. On the other hand, you should. On a daily basis, countless individuals ignore those who are homeless as they go right past them. Take my word for it because I practice what I preach, as I am not going to preach something that I do not do. When I hear of a lady whose financial condition is fragile or when I come across a homeless woman on the street, the exact same feeling washes over me. I feel helpless. The tragedy of a young child, it makes no difference to me either way, and I have no plans to assist these individuals because I am aware that, in 9 out of 10 cases, they are to blame for the problem they are in as a direct result of their own disobedience and dangerous behavior. Please take heed, gentlemen, the majority of women are in the economic difficulties they are in now as a direct result of decisions they made when they were younger, judgments whose negative effects continue to accrue until middle age and beyond. You should not worry about anything because I have undoubtedly seen this very same scenario many times before. This would be the situation, for instance, if a young girl got pregnant when she was still a teenager after having sexual contact with a Pookie or a Ray Ray while she was younger than that. Nobody in this room needs to be reminded that a Pookie cannot satisfy the fundamental requirements of a child. The next step for her is to become pregnant for the first time, which would result in her having to raise 2 children as a single parent without receiving any financial support from the father of the children. This puts women at conflict with themselves whenever they are not subject to the control of a powerful, macho male because they are unable to plan ahead, which puts them at odds with doing what they do when they are not subject to that control. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'll explain why the vast majority of women simply aren't equipped to achieve success on their own, on a more personal level. Let's take a step back and look at the big picture before proceeding forward. Women have only made it this far because they had men to protect and provide for them. If males stopped caring for women, it would have a disastrous effect on them. The first thing we need to recognize is that women have only made it this far because men have protected and provided for them. Without men to provide for them and protect them, women never would have made it this far in history. If men ceased caring about women, it would have a devastating effect on women. Women would be left in a terrible situation. We would not have been able to accomplish all that we have by the year 2022 if we did not have that one particular component. The biological need for males to breed with women and for women to nurture and rear the offspring means that if women disappeared, we would be unable to procreate and, as a result, would have gone extinct as a species a very long time ago. This is because the biological need for males to breed with women and for women to nurture and rear the offspring is mutually exclusive. Contrary to what most people think, men can make it through their lives without the help of women. If you take a closer look, you'll notice that women are to blame for more of the harm that men have suffered as people than men have brought to themselves if they were allowed to act in accordance with their own whims and desires. Persons who identify with more than 100 various genders, as well as inconsistency throughout the course of multiple generations. It is not essential to do research in order to see that the vast majority of mothers who raise their children alone do a bad job of caring for them. This conclusion may be reached without resorting to study. Simply walking outside makes it simple to identify people who are mentally ill as well as men who are wearing high heels. A sufficient amount of evidence for this should be found in the fact that women are unable to successfully bring up children without the assistance of men.